What a fantastic night for professional wrestling. I know on the internet, so we have to go, I like AEW. And then someone else goes, well, I like NXT and WWE. Then you run at each other with daggers, but in reality, we don't have to do that, and we can just sit back and go, ooh, dalali, isn't all of this nonsense really entertaining and really fun? And the answer is, you damn right. But that counts for nothing until we have gone through a show with the finger of power and given the good bits are up and the bad bits are down. And that is what I, Simon Miller, the bald asshole, is gonna do right now with All Elite Wrestling's Fyter Fest Part 1. Let's up those downs. Well, we were not kidding around, were we? The very first thing we saw at Fyter Fest was Chris Jericho, the champion, coming out to join the commentary team, and he looked at his scallop and just went, why don't you go on the show, The Masked Idiot? This was obviously a play off The Masked Singer, which is a popular program all around the world. I don't know why this stuff makes me laugh, but it does. I'm an idiot. We were then prepping for the Jurassic Express, who were going to be taking on Wardlow and MJF, and for some reason Maxwell then came out to the ring wearing a bathrobe. I can only assume that he just had a shower, and someone said, oh, it's ring time, Maxwell, and he went, screw it, I'll just go out like this. But it didn't matter, because he got a microphone and he absolutely ruined Luchasaurus and the Jungle Boy. He said Jungle Jack had only got to the top because of Daddy's money, and that was shots fired, and that Luchasaurus was more green than his greed tongue. So he was just taking boulders and chucking them around the place, but then realized, I have been thinking all week, why do I and Wardlow have to take on these idiots again? And then I realized it's because we're in the middle of a ratings war and MJF is money. And if you think that would be the first reference to WWE this evening, you would be incorrect. And then these four, what an absolute bunch of badasses. I mean, at one point, Wardlow was just catching Jungle Boy out the sky as he tried to do a Hurricane Rana, and when Luchasaurus got the hot tag and started running a wild like a dinosaur would do, I just couldn't help myself, I got into it. And I even tried to be a cynical wrestling fan this evening. I sat on my sofa and I was like, right, I'm gonna hate everything. That lasted around 3 seconds and I was hoopering and hollering. I was feeling great. It's a positive way to be. I will say that at one point Jungle Boy hit 3 consecutive dives onto MJF, and I really do think when it comes to suicide dives or topes or flips over the ropes, whatever you want to call it, we need to back it off a little bit, because now it's just like a headlock. Like someone puts a headlock on, I go, huh? Somebody throws themselves towards the ground and I go, huh? That ain't right. I also do think that we're moving towards some kind of feud with MJF and Wardlow, and you have to ask the question, is it too soon? But of course, Maxwell had the diamond ring at one point, and he was throwing it around like he was firing an Uzi, and then the fall almost hit Wardlow. Now, thankfully he didn't, but then he got his hand kicked, and he did punch the big guy in the face, and this was the beginning of the end. Because it allowed my man Luchasaurus to hit the standing moonsault onto Wardlow and get the 1, 2, 3. And like I've already said, this was just really enjoyable, and I like to feel enjoyed. Also, MJF went on Twitter afterwards and said, well, I don't care what you say, I think I'm still undefeated. No one has pinned me, no one has submitted me. I think something's about to happen. I've already seen some people criticizing all of this, but you know what? You can just go over there. This was like birthday cake. You always want to eat it, is getting it up. We then got an advert that apparently after Fyter Fest Night 2, we are going to get a puppy, and I mean puppies as in dogs, battle royale. I don't know whether this is a joke, I don't know how this is going to go down, but it's happening, and I suppose if I see it, I will up the downs for some mutts. Lance Archer and Joey Jenner then started brawling in the crowd, and I was shouting at my television, Joey, don't do this. The guy's crazy. He will take you to some kind of dump, some kind of trash site, and he will try and kill you, because we have seen Lance doing it. But I guess we're going to see what happens in 7 days. My prediction is Joey Janela gets his ass kicked. Next up was a video hyping the women's match between Shida and Penelope Ford, and it made you think, oh my gosh, I'm about to see the biggest thing ever. It was like the moon landing or something. And then these two did indeed compete for the women's championship, and I think it's one of the best women's matches we have seen on AEW television. It is getting it up. Kip Sabian was ejected from ringside straight away, which was good, because I don't need any of your nonsense tonight. But you just knew he was going to come back, because you know what he did before he left? He grabbed Shida's kendo stick and he kind of looked at it like he was now in a relationship with that. We'll get to it. Before we get there though, these two absolutely tore it up. Penelope Ford looked awesome with her handspring back elbow thing, which she then reversed into a German suplex with a bridge, and really, she was in control for most of this. I mean, when Shida finally bashed out the Falcon Arrow, do you know what Ford did? She managed to roll through it and attempt the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. But alas, Shida kicked out. Ford was up straight away though and smashed her with a stunner, and that was such a close 3. I actually thought we were going to see a title change. I was wrong. This pissed Penelope off, so she went outside the ring to get the title belt, and the ref followed her, and we will talk about referees later. And of course it was the opening for Kip Sabian to run back to the ring. He had the kendo stick, and he had clearly decided, well, I'm going to use it to try and take Shida's head off, but she punched him, got the kendo stick herself, smacked Kip Sabian, and he was out of town. Now, we do have to say, when Kip was hit, he threw that weapon up in the air like he was some kind of cartoon, but it did make for a good visual. Ford spied all of this and thought, oh man, I can get in there and take advantage of this, so she hit another stunner, but Shida kicked out, and then Shida hit the Falcon Arrow, but Penelope Ford kicked out, and I fell over because I was spent. Shida then decided to go back to basics, and she just whammed Penelope Ford in the face with a couple of running knees, and she was able to get the 1, 2, 3. But I tell you, man, this was probably better than I expected, and my expectations are always high, because as you know, I'm a positive Pete. Shida too is a damn good champion. And this carried on right away because we segued straight into another championship match. I mean, it was like we were having a pay-per-view free on Wednesday night TV. What kind of reality are we living in? It was Jake Hagar challenging for the TNT title, and I just need to say, I really like Cody, because he came out here with a Cody Rhodes American Nightmare shirt, or whatever the hell it said, but the font was exactly the same as the font for the Great American Bash. And I know, this isn't to everybody's taste. I giggled like I was in school, just getting it up. And it was a classic Cody match too, in the sense that while it started slow, eventually it was just drowning in storytelling, because Jake Hagar was like, I'm gonna go after Arn Anderson, because I know that's gonna annoy Cody, and it did, and it allowed the MMA star to suplex Cody on the outside. And I think we forget that would really hurt. Your body is not meant to be thrown into mats this way. Hagar was also accompanied this evening by his wife Catalina, and she wasn't holding back either. We remember last week when she just threw water into Cody's face. Well, this time she just walked across Cody's body at one point like, I think you're the floor. He's not. Interestingly though, Arn Anderson wasn't holding back either, even though Cody and Arn are meant to be the good guys. And at one point, he was distracting Jake Hagar, which did allow Cody to get back in control. I don't know about you, but it reminds me of 4 people that used to ride horses, figuratively speaking, that would always assist each other. Didn't need to do any of that. Hager then decided, I know I can actually rely on my mixed martial arts skills. So he was locking in sleepers and he was locking in ankle locks, but each time Cody was able to get to the ropes. And for the first one, when he did break out of it, he then hit this springboard stunner thing. That was cool. As for the finish, yes, I get the criticism. This may have been a little overbooked because the shenanigans went up to 200. But the thing is, throughout the rest of the show, we didn't see anything like this, and we know Cody does enjoy it. So it's not like it felt like overkill, but I will say it was a lot, and it was a lot at once. It was like someone had grabbed a needle and injected adrenaline into my eye. I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. But it all started when Hagar took the ref, and I'm going to address that later, which allowed Catalina to slap Cody around the face. He was all like, oh no, what's happened? So Jake locked back on the ankle lock. But then Arn Anderson was back, and he too was distracting the referee. So Dustin Rhodes just ran down, he punched Jake Hagar in the face, and then Cody went for the crossroads. He wasn't able to get it, and then Jake Hagar, I think, was like going for a triangle choke, but Cody reversed that in midair and applied the weight of his shoulders onto Jake Hagar's and got a surprise 1, 2, 3. So this was close to the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, but also not really. So it was a frantic ending that did keep me guessing. It's a bit like playing Where's Wally. I was like, oh, there he is, no, oh, there he is, no, oh. And then eventually you can't see him and realise you're crap at that game and wonder why it ever existed to begin with. But yes, there was a lot of referee shenanigans in this, and by the end of the night, maybe there were too many on Fyter Fest overall. But there was a weird fallout to all of this, because as soon as Jake Hagar heard the bell, he thought that Cody had passed out, so he leapt to his feet and went, yeah, I've done it. But 2 things, Mr. Hagar. 1, Cody's music was playing, and 2, you must have heard the referee do this. That's a 3 count. He was so pissed when he realized that he just assaulted the referee. I'm not gonna lie, this made Jake Hagar look really stupid. I get it was meant to make him look strong, but it didn't. He looked like an absolute dum-dum, and by the time a bunch of other referees had run out to try and calm him down, and Dustin Rhodes was just staring at Jake Hagar like, why weren't those two fighting, given that Dustin had basically cost him the match? It was a little bit of a head-scratcher, and I would know about that. I got no hair. I will say that all of this felt like a big deal, and it helped the TNT title no end, and the commentators did a great job in underlying that. And also, I do want to see what's going to go down next. I'm also a massive sucker for Cody matches, and I'm pleased he's still the champion. Had another video with Darby Allin that Jim Ross told us had only just arrived, so that's strange. It must have turned up on, I don't know, like a media file, and for some reason the AEW producers were like, quick, air it now! And then it was just him skating. I mean, that's great. I like Darby Allin. I hope he did an ollie. And then we had some more foreshadowing to next week because Orange Cassidy arrived and he just pulled up a chair at the commentary booth, even though, of course, he said nothing. Now, the great thing about Chris Jericho is despite his history, despite being a legend, and despite all the titles he's won, he could not handle the fact that Orange Cassidy was just sat there and he lost his mind. I flippin' love Chris Jericho. What Le Champion would not have liked, though, was the fact the Inner Circle just couldn't get it together at Fyter Fest because the next match was indeed Private Party taking on Santana and Ortiz, and Santana and Ortiz, well, they lost. But it's an up. And I still stand by my point that I think sometimes there are too many dives, but there's always an exception to this rule, and when Private Party did theirs at the start of this, my word, I thought they were going to take off and land on Mars. The air, the height they got here, if only I was so agile. If I tried to do this, I'd land on my skull and I'd be dead. Once again, eventually this settled down into the bad guys versus the good guys. And when Santana had taken Cassidy to the outside, guess what Ortiz did? That's right, he distracted the referee so Santana could get that loaded sock thing and try and smash Cassidy in the head. Now, thankfully, Matt Hardy had come out to the ring with Private Party and he stopped this. But this was too much. Why in every single match does the referee have to come off like an idiot? I bet I could be in the crowd and go, referee, you suck. And he would go, oh, how dare you? And he'd storm over to the ropes and then a bunch of nonsense would go on behind him. So while it was great that the broken one, although here he was another version of Matt Hardy, was able to stop this, I tell you who should have stopped it, the referee. He has to have some kind of authority, otherwise, why is he even there? I know I'm being a wrestling nerd, but it happened multiple times in a 2-hour window. It's getting it down. The finish was great though, and dare I say it, really inventive, because Ortiz and Santana were about to go for the street sweeper, and Mark Quinn was just like, all right, fine, and he reached over to Santana, and he pulled his headband below his eyes, so now he wasn't able to see, and when he did open them up again, Private Party were there, they were like, surprise, they hit the gin and juice, which is such a good finishing move, and they did indeed beat the Inner Circle fools. The extra cool thing here was that Ortiz was literally milliseconds from breaking that up, and that made me gasp a bit. I was like, huh, because I'm a moron. It also really pissed off Jericho because he just started yelling at Orange Cassidy after this, and the two were about to brawl when a bunch of people from the back came out to separate it. And obviously this was done to remind you that yes, in 7 days, at Fyter Fest Part 2, we are getting a former WWE champion taking on Orange Cassidy in the most unexpected match of 2020. My word. We also had a little bit of housekeeping after the week, because as it turned out, Private Party will now challenge whoever is the tag team champions next week at Fyter Fest Part 2, and we also learned that it's no longer going to be Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage for the world title on that night. That's been shifted for another 7 days, and it's going to happen at an event that AEW is now calling Fight for the Fallen, and obviously this ties into all the pandemic testing that's happened, and I hope Jon Moxley is okay, and also I hope Renee Young is okay too. It has not sounded fun. The absolute cool thing with this though is that AEW didn't shy away from this. They didn't run away. They had Taz and Brian Cage come out to the ring, and they too gave Taz a microphone, and Taz just told us that Jon Moxley is a coward. Jon Moxley is just trying to buy time because they know he's been at home having all of these tests, and all of these tests keep coming back negative, but he's pretending he doesn't want to be a safety risk when really he doesn't want to take on Brian Cage. When you mix reality and story, good things happen. This was a good thing. Also, whoever decided to put Taz as Brian Cage's mouthpiece, you get a round of applause. He is killing it. He also took a major shot at WWE when he said something along the lines of, we don't run a sloppy house here at All Elite Wrestling, because of course WWE has been having a nightmare with their apparent sloppy house. So that is 3 digs. I'm just going to tell you quietly, Each one always makes me go, I enjoy the competition. It did mean that our main event was going to be for the tag team championships, and I absolutely loved that because it's just a subtle way to put an idea in your head that, oh, I should really care about this gold because it's main eventing a show. That is far better than treating them like props. I was a fan, but not as big as a fan as I was of Trent's mum driving the best friends to the ring. She was even described as Trent's mum Sue, and as they were walking down the aisle, she said, I hope you have fun. This is the greatest thing that has ever happened in the history of wrestling. Also, it means that soon we'll be able to put to bed this argument when people go, oh, well, AEW is just like WCW. Well, we're gonna find out, because if Sue, Trent's mum, ends up hanging from a forklift, then I will concede that yes, All Elite Wrestling is actually World Championship Wrestling. And for the young folk who watch this, that actually happened in WCW. They hanged Judy Bagwell from a forklift, and that was the stipulation for the match. And this too actually started quite slowly, but I was so invested, I was enjoying how low key it was. And eventually Trent and Chuck, they were working over Hangman Page, but then Hangman Page were working over Trent. I was worried about Sue. I was like, oh man, Sue, do not be worried about your boy. We made sure there was also some narrative here because halfway through FTR arrived and they just put a couple of chairs on the stage and they watched the whole thing. And I just need to say, as soon as Kenny Omega got in there, I forget every time. He is such a good professional wrestler. He's so quick, everything he does look legit, he hits hard, he sells wonderfully. I see all these people online going, oh, Kenny Omega's not the same. Bullshit. Kenny Omega is one of the best. And there was a crazy number of near falls which made you do backflips every time someone kicked out. We saw about 72,000 pile drivers, one of which I thought had broken Kenny Omega's necks. And this was nice and simple. It was like, who is the better team? Who is going to walk away as the champs? You want a quick spoiler? And of course you do. It was Hangman Page, and it was Kenny Omega. It's an up. Because Hangman out of nowhere was able to hit the buckshot lariat onto Trent, and he got the pinfall victory, and once again, I just felt so bad for Sue. She had given up her free time to drive her boys to the arena, and now they went and I don't think they let her down. I'm sure she understands. I was really rooting for Sue. And we weren't just going to end it like that, because you had to plant somewhat of a seed for next week. It was kind of intriguing because FTR got in the ring and they were clapping, going, well done, Kenny Omega, well done, Hangman Page, and they offered them a beer. Now, obviously, Hangman drank some because he's a borderline alcoholic, but Kenny Omega is straight edge, so he poured his on the floor, and my word, did FTR not like that. Now, as a man that doesn't drink, I completely understand this, and I completely understand the reaction from FTR. It basically happened to me every time I declined a drink. I was like, oh, you crazy alien. Honestly, these two are about to fight over this until the Young Bucks came out and they had to calm everything down. Thankfully they did. You don't want to see a brawl over booze. That should be the name of a pay-per-view. Now, while all this was fine and I did dug it, a small part of me was like, shouldn't Private Party have come out of here as well and kind of looked at Hangman Page and Kenny Omega? Because of course next week they are going to have the title shot. Not having them here felt a little bit strange, but otherwise, am I ready for the second night? You bet your ass. And I really need to underline, I thought this was a great couple of hours of AEW television. I enjoyed all the title matches. I enjoyed that it had a special theme because just deep down, I felt it was more important. That's the way the brain works. It is getting an absolute up, which is good. And NXT was good. I love wrestling. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Dynamite known as Fyter Fest. Like the video, share the video, hit that subscribe button, make love to it if you want. Head on over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture, and now I need to go and get some sleep. I was just too pumped. I will see ya when I see ya.